It is time to grab your dose of compassion. Share your story and solve your anxiety and depression. Welcome to Keep Calm in a Crazy World with your host, Jodi Amon.
Hey everyone, good evening. Welcome to the radio show Monday night, 6 p.m. Eastern. Glad to have you here. I'm Jodi Amon. If you've never met me, if someone shared this with you, I'm so glad that you're here and watching, and we're going to have a great show tonight. I'm on every Monday, Keep Calm Radio with me, Jodi Amon, and it's where you could ask me questions and we talk about real issues that are going on in your life, anxiety, depression, how to think about things, how to go forward when there's a lot of problems or blocks in your life. That's what we talk about here on Keep Calm Radio. How when the whole world is chaotic, how to stay calm and stay happy. And so I do my radio show live, and I'm about to push the record button. Just wanted to give you a moment to get on tonight. We're going to talk about driving anxiety. Let me push record and get started. How are y'all tonight? Everyone doing good? Ready for a good show? Ready to get some, hopefully y'all have some questions for me. Okay, let me push this and we'll get started here. You won't hear my intro. I'm gonna edit that in later. So I'm just gonna push record and we'll start. Ready? Hello everyone, welcome to Keep Calm Radio with me, Jodi Amon, where we talk about real issues that matter to you every day, every week. Mondays here at 6 p.m. I am so happy to have you here with me tonight. And tonight we're going to be talking about driving anxiety, because it's been coming up a lot. When I think about topics to do on this radio show, I listen for what people are asking. You know, all through the week, I'm all over on social media and people are asking me questions. I pay attention to those questions. I make videos, I do radio shows really to help people that are out there. And this came as a comment on one of my blogs. And I do have some help for people who struggle with driving anxiety. The link is above. I do have some driving anxiety meditations that are really helping people recover from driving anxiety. But I really wanted to mention, you guys all excited for this? Y'all came on because you wanted to talk about driving anxiety, but really, if you have any other kind of anxiety and you're here and you're like, that's not me, turn it off. Don't turn this off, because the first thing I'm going to say about driving anxiety is that it works on you the same way as other anxieties. So the research says if you cure one kind of anxiety, you cure all other anxieties in your life quite often. And so it behooves you to listen, because the advice I'd give about driving anxiety is not going to be any different than other advice about anxiety. And that is the thing that I really want you to take home from tonight, is that anxiety hooks on something in your life. And for some reason, it convinces you that this thing is the scary thing. This thing is the dangerous thing that you need to protect yourself from. And so anxiety attaches to that thing. So driving, say. So some people are afraid of driving, and they're not afraid of getting cancer. They just have no fear at all of getting cancer. And because they think, well, if I have cancer, I'll figure it out and I'll handle it. And most people survive. Whatever they have in their head to have them not be afraid of that, they have that. But they're terrified of driving or terrified of driving over bridges. What's the difference? Then there's other people, right, and you guys could relate, that are really scared of getting cancer. But they're not as scared of driving at all. It happens all the time. It's really interesting because a lot of times people can't even understand each other's anxieties. They see it as like totally different problems. And I don't see that as totally different problems. It's the same problem, but anxiety attaches to something arbitrarily. I know that might be hard to hear, but anxiety attaches to stuff arbitrarily. And it doesn't want you to know that, man. It wants you to think that it's really specific, that anxiety attaches to driving because driving's dangerous, because there's other people that you can't control, and a lot of people get hurt driving, and all that kind of stuff. And you're stuck in the car if you're in traffic or whatever anxiety is telling you why you should be anxious about driving. This is going to be a stretch, but it is arbitrary. Anxiety is just trying to get your attention. And for some reason it worked with us, and so it's sticking with it, and it's going to keep going. And the reason why I know it's arbitrary is exactly what I was saying before. Cancer is dangerous. Some people aren't afraid of that. Some people are terrified of cancer and not afraid of driving because they feel in control when they're driving. Some people have a panic attack in their passenger seat and they'd rather drive to feel better. And the other person can't drive, they'd rather be in the passenger seat. Why is there a discrepancy? Why isn't there like a universal knowledge that this is dangerous and this is safe? The reason is that anxiety is full of crap. That's it. Anxiety is just full of crap. That's all. It's arbitrary. So if you have driving anxiety, I understand. I'm not saying it's in your head. I'm not saying that you're an idiot. I'm not saying you're ridiculous. I understand how anxiety works and how it gets you to believe that it's something really that you need to be scared of. And because you've been in the habit of being scared of it, you have to work on unhooking your brain from that. But it is curable. It is. And that's what I do in the guided meditations, in the audios. They're ones that you listen to right in the car. And you could do it virtually at first. If you're so scared of driving that you can't even get in the car, you start the program virtually and you work through it and imagine yourself in the car. You'd start everything in our imagination. When I help people heal or when I do retreats or whatever, when we want to make a big change in our life, you want to do it. In your imagination first. Marianne Williamson says, imagination is the womb to which our new world is created. So you start everything in your imagination. You think of your commitments, what you're going to do next, the next steps, your purpose, the changes you're going to make. You do it all in your imagination where you're totally safe and you play with it a little bit. And you get to see yourself doing it and succeeding because you're in your imagination. Anything can happen there. So I am doing a retreat. I told you all about it. I'm doing a retreat in September near Rochester and Naples, New York, and that is a Healing the Healer retreat. People who are in service to others and in any which way. That's almost everybody, isn't it? But if you're in service to others, you really have to really purposefully use that imagination for self-care and to purposefully think about next steps so that you could have impact, but also in a way that heals you and takes care of you too. Like if it's in the highest good of your good, it's in the highest of everyone's good. And how to find that sweet spot is really important to sustaining yourself when you're in the world of service. Such a beautiful profession, and I'm so happy every day. I am in a profession of service, but so driving. We start by healing you in your imagination. Anxiety, we start by healing you in your imagination where you're safe. Actually, most things, and I know we talked about this last week. Somebody asked me about my happy soul messages and if they would freak someone out, like if they would make someone more anxious. And I said, well, if you're not usually anxious as Barb, right? If you're not really usually anxious with other videos of mine, then you probably won't be anxious with this because I am the same person. and I don't really make people more afraid because I get to that practical. I help them heal their anxiety in their imagination first. First you visualize it. You have to believe that it's possible. That's huge. And then you could take those steps to make a difference in your life. And that is where the beautifulness happens. So let's talk about driving a little bit more. And let me take a question here from Sheila while I'm at it. I don't have a car anymore, but what you're saying makes sense. Anxiety is full of crap. Thanks, Sheila. Absolutely, man. It lies all day long. I talk about that in my book. I talk about 15 common lies. And they're really general because, anxiety uses a lot of different words. It's just trying to get your attention. It's just trying to scare you. So it will try this, and if that doesn't scare you, it'll try something else. And if that doesn't scare you, it'll try something else. And so if if the driving thing works, it's going to stick there and keep going with that as long as it keeps you down. Anxiety wants to hold you down and wants to keep you trapped. It wants to make you disconnected with everybody else. And so it just wants your attention. And so if you're like, well, driving is dangerous, or if you've had an accident in the past, or if you know someone who has, or you just think about that or read it on the news or something, it could really get you be like, well, this is something we should be, this is a rational fear. We should be afraid of it. Well, a lot of people drive every day and they're not afraid of driving. Are they wrong because they're not afraid of driving, because driving is dangerous? Like, how do you make sense of that all? And the way I make sense of it is, yes, we want to be cautious, right? We want common sense. Sometimes people say we need a little bit of anxiety because that protects us. I don't. Hi, Elena. I don't think that. I don't think that we have to have a little bit of anxiety because it protects us. I'd rather call it something else. Let's call it common sense. Yeah, we need common sense to put our helmet on, put our seatbelt on, right? If we're on a bike, in a car, I'd wear a helmet. But it's common sense. You wouldn't, you wouldn't do dangerous things and not be anxious. That's not what we want, right? We want to have common sense and do things that is going to bring us adventure, is going to bring us connection, is going to bring us purpose, commitment, right? Sometimes, yes, we could take risks. I don't think we should never take risks. But common sense, you don't want to take huge risks that are ridiculous, right? But we don't need anxiety to not take those risks. We just need common sense not to take those risks, right? We need to be careful as a driver. We don't need anxiety to be safe driving. We just need to be careful. Does that make sense? So anxiety hooks on everything, but literally driving, literally, we use this as a metaphor. It's funny, I'm saying literally we use this as a metaphor. But literally we use driving as a metaphor for being in control. So it's a little bit funny at all that driving anxiety exists in a way. But of course it does, because anxiety could hook on anything. So it does make sense. All right, so Sheila says again, I have anxiety as crap. Anxiety has nothing behind it written down to remind me daily. I love that, Sheila. I have anxiety as crap. Anxiety is nothing behind it. That is it. That is something I learned so early on with anxiety, talking to people day after day, 8 people a day, 35 people a week for 20 years. Anxiety is full of crap, and it has nothing behind it. It's quite evasive. That is one of the things outlined in my book and in my programs. Anxiety is evasive. That's how you know it's anxiety. Evasive. Yeah. All right. So driving anxiety is totally curable. A lot of people have certain kinds of anxiety. They think that it's not curable because they think it is something dangerous. And so it keeps in there, like health anxiety. It's like, but health anxiety is something that is rational fear that keeps the fear there. Well, you could be careful driving, and you could go out and have an adventure and do all kinds of stuff and have independence and have freedom, but you don't have to be stressed and anxious about it in order to drive safely, right? And you know what? Accidents happen everywhere, not just in the car. So if you're not like terrified of like, I don't know, your roof falling in or your ceiling falling in, or like, I don't mean to scare anybody, but I'm being ridiculous, right? Are you afraid your TV's going to explode? No, we're just not afraid of that kind of stuff because it doesn't happen that often. But, what if you're afraid of like a limb falling out of a tree and hitting you while you're walking down the street? I don't know. But we don't get afraid of that stuff because we just don't. You can be afraid of everything. You can be, because so much stuff is possible that's dangerous. So much stuff is possible. But it'd be ridiculous. We set limits on it because we couldn't live being afraid of everything. I could be afraid this picture frame is going to like blast off the wall and hit me in the back of the head. I mean, it's possible. What if someone next door jammed into it? I don't know. Or a car came into my... we just aren't afraid of that. And that's why I know that it's anxiety being full of crap. is because we could be scared of everything, but we pick a couple things because anxiety convinces us that those are dangerous. And for some reason, we're not worried about other things. That's how I know. Okay, let me take some questions here. Glad you're all here. Hope this is going well. All right, so give me some hearts. Give me some thumbs up if you like what you're hearing tonight, if it's helping you. If you have a question, put it in the comments, and I will address it. So Helene says, remember when I told you I was trying to change in me? I'm working on it. One bad habit almost gone. Okay, so Helene wants to shout out. Thank you so much. Helene wants to shout out that she is making a change and she's really working on these bad habits. And one of them is almost gone. Helene, yay! Great job. I am so proud of you. I know you're working really hard and I see it every day. And keep up the good work. Hi, Ashley. I have driving anxiety, but it's worse on the freeway. Lots of people have worse on the freeway because anxiety says this is more dangerous than on the streets, right? Though, is there more accidents on the freeway than the street? I'm not sure. I don't know. I heard a stat one time, a long time ago, that most people get in accidents like within a mile of their own house or something like that. And just because that's where they are most often. So why are we afraid of one thing over another? I'm afraid I'll lose control behind the wheel. It's not scary on streets because I feel like I could easily pull over. Yep, that is just you rationalizing over fear that you could easily pull over when most of the freeways do have a shoulder that you could pull over there also. Or you could get off the next exit, or you could, listen to some music, or there's a lot of things. Like anxiety just says you're trapped there. You're never trapped. You're never trapped. You could always change lanes. You could get out. There's always options. And anxiety says you have no options on the freeway. You just have to go. You're out of control. And anxiety wants you to feel trapped. And I was always afraid of being trapped, all kinds of places. And then I really had to teach myself that no matter where I am, I'm not trapped because I get to make a choice on what I do. And when you really believe that you have 100% of agency in every single situation, there's nothing to be afraid of anymore. It's so powerful. Okay. Okay, so Elena says she won't leave the house much as a passenger because she can't handle too much anxiety. I know, Elena, you haven't been feeling very good, and I think about you often. Hi, Ian. Hope New York's going good. I can't wait to hear about how that goes. And, okay, so Scott says, my problem is when I drive out of my comfort zone, I feel like I have to turn back to my safety zone instead of just driving where I need to go. Yep. So anxiety says this is safe and this is not. This is the safety zone and this is not the safety zone. That line is arbitrary. And it's just because for some reason we put limits on it. And if you could put limits on it, like I used to have this kid who had OCD and we talked for a long time, and in his house he had some places he couldn't touch because they were contaminated. But there was other places that could have gotten contaminated, but he just didn't contaminate them. Because something that he wouldn't like touched him, but for some reason he would be overwhelmed. He'd never be able to touch anything ever again if he let all that stuff go on. And so he just had to make limits on what the OCD said was contaminated. That was the biggest clue that the OCD was full of crap, because it was arbitrary where that line is, the safety zone and the non-safety zone. So I hope that helps. Think about that. What makes these things safe? And why is anxiety having you distinguish the two of them when they're the same? They're the same. One's familiar maybe. I mean, there's an excuse why one's safe. It's familiar. A street's a street. Like, there's a street. You go on the right, drive on the right side. I mean, there's like systems, like the concept of street, that's familiar. But your mind is saying, no, this is not familiar. You just have to talk yourself out. It's just an excuse, and you could talk yourself out of it, and then you practice it. And that's what I do in the. If you're interested at all in my meditations, they're so I was gonna put them at his discount, but they're unbelievably dirt cheap anyway. Just go to that link. You could read about them. Oh, Ashley has my driving meditations and they helped you so much. Oh, thanks, Ashley. I'd love to hear that feedback. I'm so excited. Yeah, I have some clients who use them and they use them every day. I'm like, in your pocket. I love it. I have a lot of clients who like say that they hear my voice, you know. I like to repeat myself when I talk because the anxiety and the negative thoughts and the guilt is so repetitive and it's been there so long. And so when in therapy, I use it as a therapeutic process, writing stuff down, repeating. We need repeating because we need to change that pattern. It's awesome. Okay, Susan said, I too feel trapped. What you just said about being in charge of being able to get out of a situation is just what I needed to hear. Yeah, Susan, I'm so happy. So happy that I could say what you needed to hear tonight. I'm so glad. Okay. Ashley, again, if you're struggling with driving, I really recommend Jodi's driving meditations. They're so calming, and I feel like I have a friend in the car with me. I'd love to be in the car with every single one of you. If this is a problem for you, what can it hurt? Just try it. Awesome. Okay, you're welcome, Scott. Hi, Becca. Oh, thank you so much. Hi, Molly. So, everyone, if anyone doesn't have any other questions for me, I am ready to sign off on this radio show tonight. I'm so happy every Monday at 6 p.m. I'll just chat to give you one more minute to ask me a question. But I'm here every Monday at 6 p.m. I'm looking to invite some guests to be here with me just to give you more information, more perspectives, and more understanding. Because when you hear that other people are going through what you're going through, it really helps a lot, doesn't it? Helene asked me one last question here. Thank you for the hearts and the thumbs up, everybody. So appreciate it. If you would like to share this, you never know who is struggling with anxiety, and you know that this will pertain to other people, not just people with driving anxiety, but I wanted to address it because I got that comment this week. Helene says, what if someone's driving fast? A lot of people drive fast, Helene. A lot of people drive fast, and so you have to use your common sense and figure out how to drive safe around them. If there's someone who's driving you and they're driving fast and you don't want to drive with them anymore, that's your choice, isn't it? Yeah. Hi, Crystal. Oh, I miss you and think about you all the time. I hope you're doing okay. Well, everyone, I hope you have a wonderful evening. I'm so happy to spend this time with you. Thank you so much for all the shares, the thumbs up, all the hearts. And if you're listening to this radio show recording, you can head over to my Facebook page. It's Jodi Amen Love, facebook.com/Jodi Amen Love. And you could catch me live on Mondays at 6 p.m. and ask me your own questions. So glad to be here with you. Thank you for sharing and commenting and writing a review on my iTunes. I really appreciate it. So everybody, I will say adieu. I will see you next Monday at 6 p.m. Talk to you soon.